What if everything we thought we knew about human civilization's darkest turning point was incomplete? What if the ancient stories of giants weren't just folklore, but historical records of a catastrophic intervention that rewrote humanity's destiny? We're about to uncover a forgotten chapter that scholars buried, theologians avoided, and historians dismissed until now. The book of Genesis gives us 9 verses, 9 brief verses about something so terrible that it triggered a flood meant to cleanse the entire world. But there's another text, hidden for centuries, preserved in fragments and whispers, that tells the full story, the Book of Enoch. And what it reveals will fundamentally change how you understand human history. Picture the world 3,000 years before the Common Era. Humanity exists in small tribal communities scattered across Mesopotamia, the Levant, and the fertile river valleys of the ancient Near East. They wear simple wool robes in earth tones, brown, cream, ochre. Leather sandals with ankle straps protect their feet. Men grow full beards as marks of wisdom and maturity. Women cover their heads with modest veils, their long dresses hand-woven with simple geometric patterns passed down through generations. Life is hard but predictable. Shepherds guide their flocks with wooden staffs, following water sources and seasonal grasses. Farmers coax grain from reluctant soil. Families gather around oil lamps in tents made of goat hair, sharing stories of their ancestors and the God who created the heavens and earth. They stack stones to build altars, offering sheep and grain to the divine. Their world is small, bounded by what they can walk in a day, by what their elders remember, by what their traditions permit. They have no written language yet, no cities, no armies, no weapons beyond simple tools. Bronze is rare and precious. Iron doesn't exist in their world. Their knowledge extends to agriculture, animal husbandry, basic pottery, and the oral histories that define their identity. This is humanity as intended. Limited, yes, mortal certainly, but innocent, pure, walking in harmony with the natural order established at creation. But something is watching from beyond the veil that separates heaven from earth. The Book of Enoch calls them the Watchers, 200 angels assigned by the divine to observe humanity, to watch without interfering, to witness the great experiment of free will playing out across the generations. Their leader is Semjaza, but among them are names that would later become synonymous with rebellion. Azazel, Arakiel, Ramil, Kokabiel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Danel, Chazakiel, Barakiel, Asael, Armaros, Batariel, Ananiel, Zakiel, Samziel, Satariel, Turiel, Yomiel, Sariel. For generations, perhaps centuries, they watch. They observe these creatures made in the divine image, struggling with their limitations, living and dying in their simple camps, worshipping with crude altars and sincere hearts. And something shifts in the Watchers. Something forbidden begins to grow. Desire, not the pure appreciation of creation's beauty, but something darker, possessive, consuming. They look down at the daughters of men, women in their modest robes and veils, grinding grain by hand, drawing water from stone-edged wells, nursing children in goat hair tents. And they want them, not spiritually, not from a distance. They want to possess them, to touch them, to cross the uncrossable boundary between the spiritual and physical realms. Semjaza speaks the thought that's been growing in all their minds. I fear you will not agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. He knows what he's proposing is catastrophic. He knows the consequences, but the desire has become unbearable. And here's where the story takes its darkest turn. The Watchers don't act impulsively. They don't fall individually, overcome by momentary passion. No, they plan it. They organize it. They bind themselves together with a mutual curse, an oath of shared guilt, ensuring that if punishment comes, it falls on all equally. 200 angels swear the oath on Mount Hermon. The mountain's name would later mean forbidden or cursed in Hebrew, a geographical memory of the pact made there. Then they descend. Can you imagine that moment? The sky splits open not with divine glory, but with forbidden presence. Beings of pure spirit force themselves into physical form, violating the fundamental order of creation. They don't appear to prophets or priests with messages from the divine. They come seeking human women for their own purposes. The texts describe them as beautiful beyond human comprehension, radiating power and knowledge that no human possesses. When they speak, their words carry the weight of cosmic authority. When they move, reality itself seems to bend around them. And they take wives, not through courtship or cultural custom, but through sheer, overwhelming presence. How does a Bronze Age woman in a goat hair tent refuse a being who speaks with the voice of angels and radiates otherworldly power? How does her father, a shepherd with a wooden staff, stand against beings who commanded the celestial realms? The Book of Enoch is explicit, and they took wives unto themselves, and everyone chose for himself one, and they began to go into them and to defile themselves with them. The word choice is crucial. Not marry, not unite with, defile. This isn't romance. This isn't even the tribal practice of taking wives from conquered peoples. This is cosmic violation. The boundary between heaven and earth, established at creation itself, is being shattered by beings who should have been its guardians. And then the women become pregnant. Now here's where biology and spirituality collide in horrifying ways. These aren't normal pregnancies. The mother's bodies aren't designed to carry offspring from angelic beings. The pregnancies are agonizing, stretched beyond normal human gestation. The mothers eat far more than any pregnant woman should need, their bodies desperately trying to fuel the impossible hybrid growing within them. And when the children are born, they're wrong. The Book of Enoch describes them as 3,000 ells in height, roughly 450 feet tall if we take the measurement literally, though scholars debate whether this is symbolic of their monstrosity rather than literal measurement. Even if we reduce this to symbolic language indicating enormous, we're talking about beings fundamentally different from normal humans. They call them the Nephilim. In Hebrew, the word means fallen ones, or those who cause others to fall. The Book of Numbers later describes them simply, "There we saw the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." Grasshoppers, that's the scale we're talking about. These hybrid beings grow rapidly, consuming food at impossible rates. The text says they devoured all the resources humans could produce. Imagine a farming community that works all season to store enough grain for winter, only to have it consumed in days by a single Nephilim offspring. Imagine shepherds watching their entire flocks, animals they've raised for years, devoured by beings who are never satisfied. And when men could no longer sustain them, the Book of Enoch records, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Read that again. These beings, born from the union of fallen angels and human women, began eating people. This isn't metaphorical oppression. This isn't symbolic language about social domination. The text describes cannibalism on a massive scale. The Nephilim consume humans the way humans consume livestock. Villages that took generations to build are emptied in days. Entire family lines are wiped out. The very people who might have been their distant cousins become food. But the horror doesn't end with physical consumption, because the Watchers don't just father monsters and disappear. They stay, and they teach. Azazel, the name means scapegoat in later Hebrew tradition, suggesting his role as bearer of particular guilt, teaches men to forge swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. Before the Watcher's intervention, humans had simple bronze tools for farming and basic tasks. Now they have weapons designed specifically for killing other humans. Warfare becomes systematized, efficient, industrialized. Semjaza teaches enchantments and root cutting, what we might call pharmaceutical knowledge, the ability to create potions and drugs that alter consciousness and control others. Armaros teaches the resolving of enchantments, counter-magic, the ability to break protective spells, leaving communities defenseless. Barakiel teaches astrology, not the benign horoscopes of modern newspapers, but the ancient art of reading fate in the stars, of believing human choice is predetermined by celestial movements, undermining free will itself. Kokabiel teaches the constellations, likely connected to navigation, but also to divination and the belief that human destiny is written in the sky. Jazakiel teaches the knowledge of clouds, weather manipulation or prediction, giving some humans power over harvests and survival itself. Arakiel teaches the signs of the earth, possibly earthquake prediction or mining knowledge, ways to exploit and extract from the ground. Shamsil teaches the signs of the sun, timekeeping, yes, but also sun worship and calendar systems that replace divine law with human calculation. Sariel teaches the course of the moon, tidal knowledge, yes, but also the foundations of moon worship and fertility cults. But perhaps most devastating is what Azazel teaches the women. He shows them metallurgy for ornamentation, how to create bracelets, decorative items, precious stones for adornment. He teaches them antimony for eye paint and cosmetics. The Book of Enoch describes this as teaching the beautifying of the eyelids and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. Why is this listed among the forbidden knowledge alongside weapon making and sorcery? Because it introduces vanity, social hierarchy based on appearance, the objectification of women, and the use of resources for decoration rather than survival. It transforms simple wool robes and modest head coverings into elaborate displays of wealth and status. It creates new forms of oppression, the beautiful versus the plain, the adorned versus the simple, those who can afford precious metals versus those who cannot. Human society, which existed in relatively egalitarian tribal structures, suddenly develops complex hierarchies. Those who possess the Watcher's knowledge gain power over those who don't. Those who can forge weapons dominate those who can't. Those who understand astrology claim authority over community decisions. Those who can create cosmetics and jewelry establish new standards of worth and beauty. The innocent world of shepherds and farmers and simple wool robes disintegrates. Violence becomes systematic. The Book of Enoch describes it starkly, and there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Warfare spreads. Communities that once shared water sources now fight over them with bronze swords. Families that once cooperated in harvests now raid each other's stores. The knowledge of metallurgy means some groups can forge weapons, while others remain defenseless, creating massive power imbalances. Magic and sorcery proliferate. Root cutting becomes poisoning. Enchantments become tools of manipulation and control. The straightforward relationship between humans and the divine, simple altars, honest prayers, sincere offerings, is replaced with complex rituals, secret knowledge, and priestly hierarchies claiming special access to cosmic power. Social structures collapse. The elders' wisdom becomes worthless when younger men possess forbidden knowledge. Traditional family structures break down when cosmetics and adornment create new standards of desirability. The concept of marriage itself is corrupted when unions are based on appearance and status, rather than family alliance and mutual support. And through it all, the Nephilim continue to grow, to consume, to dominate. The Book of Enoch describes humanity's response, and men cried aloud, and their voice reached heaven. They prayed desperately to the divine they've nearly forgotten, begging for intervention, for protection, for salvation from the catastrophe consuming their world. 4 archangels hear the cries: Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel. They appear before the divine and report what's happening on earth. The text records their words. You see what Azazel has done, how he has taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven. And Semjaza, to whom you have given authority to bear rule over his associates, they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. Notice the structure of the accusation. It's not just that the Watchers took human wives. It's not just that they fathered the Nephilim. It's that they revealed eternal secrets preserved in heaven. Knowledge humans were never meant to possess, not because the divine wanted to keep them ignorant, but because they weren't ready for such knowledge. Imagine giving nuclear weapons technology to Bronze Age tribes. Imagine teaching advanced chemistry to people who still use lead-drinking vessels. Imagine revealing genetic engineering to cultures that practice human sacrifice. The knowledge itself isn't evil, but giving it to unprepared recipients guarantees catastrophic misuse. That's what the Watchers did. They gave cosmic knowledge to humans who lacked the moral and social development to use it wisely. The divine's response is immediate and terrifying. First, he sends Uriel to warn Noah, the one righteous man remaining in that generation. The flood is coming. The cleansing is inevitable. Build an ark. Preserve your family and representatives of the animal kingdom. Everything else will be washed away. But before the flood, there are other judgments. The divine commands Raphael: bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert which is in Dudael and cast him therein. Place upon him rough and jagged rocks and cover him with darkness. Let him abide there forever. Cover his face that he may not see light. Azazel, who taught weapon making and cosmetics, who gave humans the knowledge to kill efficiently and create artificial beauty, is buried alive in the desert under jagged rocks in perpetual darkness. His punishment mirrors his crime. He brought dark knowledge to humanity, so he dwells in darkness. He taught humans to make weapons from the earth's metals, so he's buried beneath the earth's stones. But the punishment continues. The divine tells Raphael, on the day of the great judgment, Azazel shall be cast into the fire. This isn't just imprisonment. This is imprisonment followed by ultimate destruction. For Semjaza and the other Watchers, the judgment is different but equally terrible. Bind them for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth until the day of their judgment and consummation, until the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. 70 generations, roughly 2,000 years of imprisonment, watching the world they corrupted continue without them, waiting for final judgment. But what about the Nephilim? These hybrid beings, half angel and half human, eating people and dominating the earth. The divine's command is chilling. Go, bind Semjaza and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth. The Watchers will watch their hybrid offspring destroy each other before their imprisonment begins. The Nephilim, these beings of impossible size and strength, won't be destroyed by divine intervention directly. They'll turn on each other, brother against brother, in an orgy of violence that mirrors the chaos they brought to humanity. Why this method? Why not simply strike them down with heavenly fire? Because the divine is making a point about the nature of forbidden knowledge and corrupted power. The Nephilim, products of violated boundaries and premature knowledge, carry within themselves the seeds of their own destruction. Violence begets violence. Power corrupts. What begins as dominance over humans inevitably turns inward, consuming itself. The Book of Enoch describes it starkly. Destroy all the spirits of the reprobate and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. But there's a complication, a horrifying detail that changes everything about what comes after. The Nephilim are half angelic. When they die, their physical bodies perish, but their spirits, their angelic component, doesn't simply cease to exist the way human souls transition to the afterlife. Instead, these spirits become something new, something that never existed before in creation's order. The text calls them evil spirits. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. Read that carefully. The Nephilim die in their mutual slaughter before the flood, but their spirits remain on earth as demons, the evil spirits that will torment humanity for all subsequent generations. Every demon in Jewish and Christian tradition, every evil spirit that possesses and torments and corrupts, traces its origin to these hybrid beings born from the Watchers' rebellion. This is why the New Testament speaks of spiritual warfare, why Jesus casts out demons, why the apostles battle against principalities and powers. These aren't abstract concepts or metaphorical evil. They're the literal spirits of the Nephilim, still active, still corrupting, still hostile to humanity. The flood destroys their bodies, but their spirits remain, wandering about and devouring, and they destroy and attack and do not observe but harm people. So when Noah builds his ark, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, constructed from gopher wood and sealed with pitch, he's not just preserving humanity from drowning. He's preserving the untainted human line, the genetic integrity that the Watcher's intervention threatened to destroy completely. Because here's what Genesis tells us that the Book of Enoch elaborates. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. Also afterward. Even after the primary rebellion, even as judgment approaches, the corruption continues. Some Watchers, seeing the impending punishment, continue their violations right up until the waters rise. Some human women, having seen the power and knowledge the Watchers offer, willingly seek them out. By the time Noah enters the ark with his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, humanity's genetic pool is contaminated. Most humans carry Nephilim ancestry. Most have been touched by the forbidden knowledge. Most participate in the violence, sorcery, and corruption that the Watchers introduced. Genesis says simply, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time." Only evil. All the time. That's the end result of the Watcher's intervention. Humanity didn't gradually develop evil tendencies. Evil was taught to them systematically by beings who should have protected them. The rain falls for 40 days and 40 nights. The fountains of the great deep burst forth. Waters cover the highest mountains to a depth of 15 cubits. Every living thing on dry land dies. Every person, every animal, every creeping thing, every bird. And the Nephilim, fighting each other in their final frenzy, drown or are killed by their siblings. Their massive bodies sink into the mud that will eventually become the fossil record. Their spirits rise from the waters, homeless, bodiless, eternally hungry. But the story doesn't end with the flood, because genetic contamination isn't the only legacy of the Watchers. Knowledge once given cannot be taken back. Noah and his family emerge from the ark carrying memories. They remember weapon making, they remember astrology and sorcery, they remember cosmetics and ornamentation, they remember the hierarchies and power structures that the forbidden knowledge created. The Book of Jubilees, another ancient text that expands on these events, describes what happens after the flood. And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife, whose name was Lomna, the daughter of Sinaa, and she bare him a son in the 4th year of this week. And he called his name Ru, for he said, Behold, the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar, the Tower of Babel. Built by people who remember that angels once walked among humans, taught them secrets, and elevated them beyond their natural station. They're trying to recreate that contact, to reach heaven through their own efforts, to regain the knowledge that was lost in the flood. And God confuses their languages and scatters them, preventing another consolidated attempt to violate the heaven-earth boundary. But knowledge keeps resurfacing. The ancient Near Eastern kingdoms that emerge after Babel, Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, all develop sophisticated metallurgy, astronomical knowledge, complex magic systems, and elaborate cosmetics industries. They build ziggurats reaching toward heaven. They practice divination and sorcery. They create weapons of increasing deadliness. Are they rediscovering this knowledge independently, or are they remembering what the Watchers taught? Ancient texts suggest memory, not discovery. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of humanity's oldest surviving stories, features a hero who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, a clear echo of Nephilim ancestry. He's described as enormous, powerful beyond human norm, and struggling with his hybrid nature. Egyptian texts describe the Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus, as divine beings who came before the pharaohs and taught civilization to primitive humans. They brought knowledge of agriculture, architecture, writing, and divine kingship. Sumerian king lists include rulers who reigned for impossibly long periods before the flood, echoing the extended lifespans associated with those who lived in the era of the Watchers. Greek mythology describes the Titans, born from the union of Uranus, heaven, and Gaia, earth, who warred against the Olympian gods and were imprisoned in Tartarus, a story that parallels the Watchers' rebellion and imprisonment with striking similarity. Hindu texts describe the Asuras, powerful beings who rebelled against the Devas and taught forbidden knowledge to humans, leading to cosmic warfare. Norse mythology tells of the Jotnar, giant beings who existed before humans and constantly threatened the order of Midgard. These aren't independent mythologies. They're cultural memories of the same event, filtered through different languages, cultures, and time periods. Humanity collectively remembers when the boundary between heaven and earth was violated, when giants walked among us, when forbidden knowledge was given prematurely, and the evil spirits, the disembodied Nephilim, continue their work. The Book of Enoch describes their ongoing mission. The spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men, and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. They hunger but cannot eat. They thirst but cannot drink. They desire physical sensation but have no bodies. So they seek to possess human bodies, to experience physical reality through human hosts, to continue the corruption their angelic fathers began. This explains the proliferation of possession accounts throughout ancient history. It's not that ancient peoples were more superstitious or less educated than we are. It's that they were closer to the original event, more aware of the spiritual dimension of reality, less insulated by materialism and rationalism from the actual forces at work in the world. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947 in caves near Qumran, include fragments of the Book of Enoch and additional texts about the Watchers. The Aramaic fragments date to the 2nd century before the Common Era, proving this wasn't just fringe mythology but mainstream Jewish theology during the Second Temple period. One fragment, called the Book of Giants, provides additional details about the Nephilim and their self-destruction. It describes the giants having prophetic dreams about their impending doom, consulting dream interpreters, and ultimately fighting each other when they realize they cannot escape divine judgment. Another fragment describes how Noah's righteousness was questioned because some suspected he might carry Nephilim genetics. His father Lamech asks his own father Methuselah to consult with Enoch about whether Noah is fully human. The concern is that if Noah carries watcher contamination, then humanity's hope for a clean restart after the flood is compromised. The text confirms Noah's full humanity, but the very existence of this concern shows how thoroughly the genetic contamination had spread. By the time of the flood, distinguishing pure humans from those with Nephilim ancestry required prophetic confirmation. Early Christian writers understood these implications deeply. Justin Martyr, writing in the 2nd century of the Common Era, describes the Watcher's fall. The angels transgressed this appointment and were captivated by love of women and begat children who are those that are called demons. Irenaeus of Lyon, writing around 180 of the Common Era, connects the fallen angels directly to demonic activity. These are the angels who fell from heaven, concerning whom the scripture says that they defiled themselves with women. Tertullian, writing around 200 of the Common Era, explicitly links women's cosmetics to the Watcher's teaching. If there dwelt upon the earth angels who had transgressed their former state, who having been sunk in pleasures, betrayed to women the secrets of heaven and taught them the powers of materials and the properties of herbs, and published the works of witchcraft. He's not being misogynistic in the modern sense. He's trying to trace the origin of practices his culture associates with vanity and deception back to their source in the Watcher's corruption. The point isn't that women are evil, but that the Watchers taught practices specifically designed to corrupt human relationships and create new forms of oppression. Clement of Alexandria, writing around 200 of the Common Era, describes the broader impact. The apostate angels taught men to make swords and breastplates and shields and all weapons of war. They revealed to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony for the eyes, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of precious stones, and all coloring matters. He's quoting nearly verbatim from the Book of Enoch, showing that early Christians considered it authoritative for understanding the origin of human corruption. But by the 4th century of the Common Era, something shifts. Church councils begin standardizing which texts should be considered scripture and which should be relegated to secondary status. The Book of Enoch, despite its obvious influence on New Testament writers, doesn't make the final cut for most Christian canons. Why? Several factors converge. First, the text's graphic descriptions of angelic human sexual union make church leaders uncomfortable, especially as Christianity develops more formal doctrines about angels and their nature. Second, the idea that demons originated from Nephilim spirits rather than from Satan's fall creates theological complications. If demons are Nephilim spirits, what happened to Satan? How does his rebellion relate to the Watcher's rebellion? Are there two separate falls? Third, and perhaps most importantly, the Book of Enoch's worldview is deeply Jewish, rooted in Second Temple period theology that early Christianity is trying to distinguish itself from. As Christianity spreads into the Greek and Roman world, it adopts Hellenistic philosophical frameworks that don't accommodate Enochian cosmology easily. By the 5th century, the Book of Enoch effectively disappears from Christian consciousness in Europe and the Mediterranean. Occasional references in church fathers preserve the memory that such a text exists, but actual copies become increasingly rare. Only the Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserves the complete text in Ge'ez translation, considering it canonical scripture. For over 1,000 years, European Christianity forgets the Watcher's story in its full detail. Then comes 1873. British scholar R.H. Charles produces the first English translation of the Ethiopian text. Suddenly, Western scholars can read the full account again, and the implications are staggering. Everything Christianity taught about demons, about spiritual warfare, about the origin of evil in the world, all of it connects back to this forgotten narrative about angelic rebellion, hybrid offspring, and forbidden knowledge. The New Testament's references suddenly make more sense. When Jude quotes the book of Enoch directly in verses 14 through 15, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone. He's not quoting loosely or metaphorically. He's citing a text his audience knows and accepts as authoritative. When 2 Peter chapter 2 describes God casting angels into Tartarus, the same term Greek mythology uses for the prison of the Titans, and keeping them in chains of darkness until the judgment, he's referring to the Watcher's imprisonment described in Enoch. When Jesus encounters demons throughout the Gospels, their behavior makes more sense in light of Enochian theology. They recognize Jesus immediately as divine. They know their judgment is coming. They desperately seek to inhabit physical bodies because they're the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, eternally craving the physical existence they lost. When Paul writes in Ephesians about wrestling not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms, he's describing the ongoing influence of the Watchers and their offspring. The Nephilim's physical bodies died millennia ago, but their spiritual warfare continues. And here's where the story becomes urgently relevant to our modern world. Because the knowledge the Watchers taught didn't disappear with the flood. It adapted, it evolved, it found new expressions in every civilization that followed. Metallurgy for weapons became the foundation of every empire. Bronze Age kingdoms rose and fell based on who controlled copper and tin sources. Iron Age empires, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, built their power on superior weapon technology. Steel-making secrets determined medieval dominance. Gunpowder revolutionized warfare. Nuclear weapons created our modern balance of terror. Every advancement in weapon technology traces back to Azazel's original teaching: how to transform Earth's metals into tools for killing other humans efficiently. Astrology became astronomy, which we celebrate as science, but the original purpose remains: reading fate in the stars, believing our destinies are predetermined by forces beyond our control, consulting cosmic patterns rather than divine guidance for life decisions. Root cutting became pharmacology. We've advanced from simple poisons to sophisticated drugs that alter consciousness, control behavior, and create dependencies. The opioid epidemic, the proliferation of psychoactive substances, the chemical management of human emotion, all echo the original forbidden knowledge of manipulating human consciousness through material substances. Cosmetics became a multi-billion-dollar industry built on the same foundation Azazel taught: artificial enhancement to create hierarchy, to objectify, to establish worth based on appearance rather than character. The simple wool robes and modest veils of humanity's innocent era have been replaced by fashion industries that exploit workers, create impossible beauty standards, and generate waste on catastrophic scales. Enchantments became marketing, propaganda, psychological manipulation. We've systematized the art of controlling human behavior through carefully crafted messages, exploiting cognitive biases, creating artificial needs and desires. The forbidden knowledge didn't disappear, it metastasized, but there's a deeper pattern that connects ancient rebellion to modern reality. The Watchers' fundamental error wasn't just teaching forbidden knowledge, it was violating boundaries. They crossed the boundary between heaven and earth. They mixed angelic and human genetics. They revealed cosmic secrets to unprepared minds. They elevated humans prematurely beyond their natural development stage. And humanity has been repeating that pattern ever since. We violate boundaries between human and animal through genetic engineering. We cross boundaries between life and death through cloning experiments. We breach boundaries between consciousness and machine through artificial intelligence. We transgress boundaries between earth and space, between nation and nation, between natural and synthetic. Every technological revolution follows the Watcher's template. Acquire knowledge or power before developing the wisdom to use it responsibly, then deal with catastrophic consequences afterward. Nuclear weapons gave us the power to destroy civilization before we developed the political maturity to manage that power safely. We've come terrifyingly close to nuclear war multiple times. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the Soviet false alarm incident in 1983, numerous near misses that most people never learn about. Genetic engineering gives us the power to redesign life itself before we've resolved basic ethical questions about what we should create, who decides, and what safeguards are necessary. Artificial intelligence is developing capabilities that may soon exceed human intelligence across all domains, and we're racing forward without adequate consideration of alignment problems, control mechanisms, or existential risks. Social media gave us unprecedented communication power before we understood how it would weaponize tribalism, enable mass manipulation, and erode shared reality. We're watchers to ourselves now, constantly revealing secrets we're not ready for, crossing boundaries we don't fully understand, teaching ourselves forbidden knowledge with predictable catastrophic results. And the evil spirits, those disembodied Nephilim, continue their work through every generation. The Book of Enoch describes their strategy. They shall corrupt until the day of the consummation, until the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated. They cannot create. They can only corrupt what already exists. They cannot build civilizations, only infiltrate and twist them toward destruction. They cannot generate new knowledge, only pervert existing knowledge toward harmful ends. Every human achievement becomes a target. Language becomes lies and manipulation. Sexuality becomes exploitation and abuse. Governance becomes tyranny and oppression. Religion becomes legalism and hypocrisy. Science becomes weapons development and control mechanisms. Art becomes propaganda and degradation. The spirits work through human vessels, often without those humans realizing they're being influenced. A scientist develops chemical weapons believing he's serving his nation. A marketer creates addictive products believing he's just doing his job effectively. A politician enacts oppressive laws believing he's maintaining order. A religious leader creates cult-like control believing he's protecting truth. The corruption is so subtle, so embedded in normal human structures, that we often can't distinguish between natural human failing and demonic influence, which is precisely the point. The most effective corruption is invisible, but the ancient texts promise that this age of corruption is temporary. The Book of Enoch describes ultimate judgment. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, to the torture and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. And whosoever shall be condemned and destroyed will from thenceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations. The watchers imprisoned for 70 generations will face final judgment. The evil spirits wandering the earth will be confined permanently. The humans who align themselves with corruption will share their fate. But there's also restoration. The same texts that describe judgment also describe renewal. After the consummation of the age, after the great judgment, creation will be restored to its original intention. The boundaries violated by the Watchers will be re-established. Forbidden knowledge will be either reclaimed properly by those mature enough to handle it, or abolished entirely as unnecessary for human flourishing. New Testament writers pick up this theme. Peter describes the day of God's judgment and destruction of the ungodly, followed by a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells. Revelation describes the final defeat of Satan and his angels, the judgment of the dead, and the descent of New Jerusalem, heaven and earth united properly this time, not through violation and corruption, but through divine restoration. The story that began with the Watchers' rebellion will end with rebellion's complete defeat, but until that consummation, we live in the middle chapters. We inherit both the corruption and the resistance to corruption. We carry both the knowledge the Watchers taught and the divine image that knowledge cannot erase. We face both the influence of evil spirits and the protection of faithful angels. The question becomes, how do we live wisely in this contested reality? First, by recognizing the patterns. When we encounter knowledge or power that promises advancement without corresponding moral development, we should hear echoes of the Watcher's temptation. When boundaries that exist for good reasons come under pressure, we should remember what happened when the heaven-earth boundary was violated. When we're offered shortcuts to wisdom, beauty, power, or knowledge that bypass the slow work of genuine growth, we should recognize the ancient pattern. Second, by valuing proper development over premature elevation. The Watchers gave cosmic knowledge to Bronze Age humans. We constantly give sophisticated tools to spiritually and ethically unprepared users. A teenager with a smartphone has access to more information than ancient emperors commanded. But does she have the wisdom to use it well? A programmer creating artificial intelligence systems wields power over human cognition and behavior. But does he have the ethical formation to wield that power responsibly? Third, by maintaining boundaries that protect human dignity and cosmic order. Not all boundaries are oppressive. Some exist because violating them produces catastrophic results. The boundary between human and animal genetics protects both species' integrity. The boundary between human consciousness and artificial replication protects human uniqueness and value. The boundary between appropriate knowledge for developmental stages protects the vulnerable from corruption. Fourth, by recognizing spiritual warfare as real, not metaphorical. The evil spirits described in Enoch aren't ancient superstition. They're ongoing active forces seeking to corrupt, possess, and destroy. Modern materialism's denial of spiritual reality doesn't make it less real. It just makes us more vulnerable by convincing us we're not under attack. Fifth, by remembering that corruption is never final for those who resist. Noah lived in a generation where every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time, yet he remained righteous. The text calls him a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Surrounded by Nephilim, influenced by evil spirits, living in a culture saturated with forbidden knowledge and violence, he maintained integrity, which means resistance is possible even in maximally corrupted contexts. The Watchers introduced systematic evil, but they couldn't eliminate human capacity for good. The Nephilim dominated physically, but they couldn't erase divine image from human nature. The evil spirits corrupt and oppress, but they cannot create, only twist what already exists. And that means hope persists even in the darkest chapters. The ancient texts tell us something else crucial. The divine never abandoned humanity despite the Watcher's intervention. He sent the archangels to report conditions on earth. He warned Noah. He imprisoned the Watchers. He judged the Nephilim. He continues to restrain the evil spirits from complete domination. Humanity's story could have ended with the Watchers' rebellion. The divine could have declared the experiment failed, destroyed everything, and started over with a different design. Instead, he preserved a remnant, cleansed creation through the flood, and restarted human civilization with the same species that had been so thoroughly corrupted. Why? Because the divine image in humans, the aspect that makes us capable of relationship with the divine, capable of moral choice, capable of love and sacrifice and creation, survived even Nephilim contamination. That image is more fundamental to human nature than any corruption introduced by fallen angels. The Watchers taught forbidden knowledge, but they couldn't teach humans to stop being human. The Nephilim dominated and destroyed, but they couldn't eliminate human resilience. The evil spirits corrupt and oppress, but they cannot overcome human capacity for resistance, redemption, and renewal. So here we stand, thousands of years after the Watchers descended on Mount Hermon, still living with the consequences of their rebellion, still using the knowledge they taught, still battling the spirits their offspring became, still crossing boundaries we shouldn't cross, still seeking power without wisdom, but also still carrying the divine image, still capable of righteousness even in corrupt generations, still able to resist even when surrounded by evil, still chosen for restoration even after catastrophic failure. The Book of Enoch ends not with judgment but with promise. After describing the final consummation, the ultimate defeat of the Watchers and their offspring, the binding of evil spirits forever, Enoch sees the righteous dwelling in light, the earth renewed, creation restored to original intention. The Nephilim's impact on human history was devastating. They introduced systematic violence, forbidden knowledge, genetic corruption, and demonic oppression that continues to this day. They fundamentally altered human civilization, pushing us into premature technological development without corresponding moral maturity. But their impact wasn't final. Because the story the ancient texts tell isn't ultimately about the Watchers' rebellion. It's about divine persistence. It's about choosing to preserve and redeem rather than abandon and destroy. It's about believing humans are worth saving even when corrupted beyond recognition. Noah's Ark floats on waters of judgment but carries seeds of renewal. The flood destroys the Nephilim but preserves humanity. The Watchers face imprisonment, but their knowledge becomes tools for future good in properly formed hands. Evil spirits wander the earth, but their days are numbered. We live in that tension between corruption and restoration, between demonic influence and divine protection, between the knowledge the Watchers taught and the wisdom we're still learning, between the world as it is and the world as it will be when heaven and earth finally unite properly. The Nephilim walked the earth as giants, devouring and dominating. Their spirits still afflict us, seeking to corrupt and possess. The knowledge revealed prematurely still tempts us toward boundaries we shouldn't cross. But the same divine voice that called Noah to build an ark still calls humans to righteousness. The same power that imprisoned the Watchers still restrains evil. The same purpose that preserved humanity through the flood still works toward ultimate restoration. The ancient texts recovered from Ethiopian monasteries and Dead Sea caves tell us something our modern world desperately needs to hear. We've been here before. Humanity has faced existential corruption before. We've dealt with knowledge we weren't ready for before. We've struggled against forces beyond our natural capacity to resist before. And we survived, not through our own strength, but through divine preservation, not because we were worthy, but because the divine image in us was worth preserving, not because we deserved another chance, but because the story isn't finished yet. The Nephilim are gone, but their legacy remains. The Watchers are imprisoned, but their knowledge persists. The evil spirits are active, but their power is limited. The corruption is real, but redemption is possible. That's the Message from the ancient texts. That's the truth buried in forbidden books and hidden in caves for centuries. That's what the Book of Enoch reveals when we finally dare to read it. The giants of ancient lore were real. Their impact was catastrophic. Their influence continues, but they're not the end of the story. They're a chapter in a larger narrative about rebellion and restoration, corruption and redemption, judgment and mercy, the fall and the eventual return to paradise. And that narrative is still being written every day, in every choice we make about knowledge and power, boundaries and wisdom, corruption and resistance. The Watchers descended, the Nephilim rose, evil was unleashed, but humanity endures. And the final chapter promises something the Nephilim never could have imagined in their arrogance and their hunger. Complete restoration of everything they broke. That's the hope that survives even the darkest corruptions. That's the promise that outlasts even the most devastating rebellions. The Nephilim's story is finished. Their bodies drowned, their spirits confined to wandering corruption until final judgment. But our story, humanity's story, continues toward a consummation they cannot prevent and a restoration they cannot corrupt. That's the truth the ancient texts preserve. That's the revelation worth recovering. That's the hope worth holding through every generation until the final one. The Watchers fell. The Nephilim rose and fell. Evil spirits afflict us still. But the divine image endures. Righteousness remains possible. Restoration is promised, and that makes all the difference.